Hey everybody, it's Gage with 12 Gauge Geek, and we've got another movie review today. Today we're going to be looking at Sleepaway Camp. Now, Sleepaway Camp was made in 1983. It's an American slasher film that was written and directed by Robert Hiltzik. It follows a murderous spree that takes place at a boys and girls summer camp. The film begins with the scene of a father and his two children floating and lounging about. In the background, a boat and water skier is seen. The passenger of said boat asks the driver if she could drive, which he reluctantly agrees, and several moments later, the boat is seen barreling towards the family. It's too late before the driver notices to turn, and in a panic, the throttle is knocked forward, propelling the boat into the unfortunate family, killing the father and one of the two children. 8 years later, we are introduced to a mother and her two children, their names being Angela and Ricky. The mother begins to ramble on, holding Angela and Ricky in stasis as she says she has something to give them. Eventually, she turns over physicals she claims were written by her because she is a doctor, but says not to reveal this to anyone, as it wouldn't be right. The next few scenes follow the arrival of all the campers while introducing us to some of the camp staff and its owner, Mel. After setting into their rooms, a few of the camp staff are seen in the cafeteria as well as all the campers. Angela is approached by several camp counselors that are concerned with her well-being as she has not spoken in 3 days. The male counselor, thinking Angela would maybe want to help out in the kitchen, brings her to an unsavory character. This lowlife would attempt to sexually assault Angela when miraculously her brother Ricky bursts into the room looking for her and demands answers. The lowlife grabs Ricky and the two have words but are interrupted due to other staff coming in. Not too long after, we see our offender and another worker tending to a large pot of boiling water. The other worker leaves the room for a minute and we are given a first-person view of our what seems would be our killer atop a chair, or our offender atop a chair tending to the pot. He's pushed and immediately begs the person who had pushed him to relax, and after this, the bottom of the chair is jerked from beneath him. He begins to scream for help, to which his chair is completely pulled out, causing him to fall back and be scalded by the entire pot of boiling water. The burns our offender suffers begins to turn from first to second degree before our eyes, eventually blistering and bubbling up. A just punishment, in my opinion. As he is whisked away in the ambulance, our camp owner Mel's main concern seems to be that the camp's reputation is held intact, and he insists that this was an accident, even going out of his way to pay the rest of the kitchen staff more money to keep quiet. The next scene shows the younger boys playing a prank on another one, a joke I'm not going to spoil for you all, as I thought this was pretty funny. After this, we jump to the middle of a heated baseball game between the younger and older boys, to which the younger boys win, upsetting some of the older boys. This loss would be the start of a small feud between the two groups, with the drama primarily centered around Ricky. Angela, on the other hand, seems to have made a friend and has even spoken after a while. After a failed skinny dipping event, the boys and girls leave the lake for the night, unaware uh, that they left Ricky's bully underneath the canoe, as he was trying to play a prank on another one of the girls there. It says, shortly after, another head pops up to greet him and dunks his head into the water, basically drowning him, it seems. This I thought was pretty crazy because, I mean, he just gets drowned and doesn't even really put up a fight. I thought that was odd. Could have been because they were smoking weed before or something, but I'll move on. Anyway, so the next morning his body is found on a shore by an angry worker, and a corn snake, I believe, is seen surfacing out of the corpse's mouth. As his body is being taken away, cops gather a statement and Mel angrily insists that this time this was an accident, arguing with the cop and with his fellow camp counselors. The cop protests, saying that they need an autopsy basically before he's going to deem it as anything other than, an accident. And days seem to go on. Angela and what seems now is her boyfriend, who we now know is named Paul, are seen. It seems that their relationship is growing, which is making a couple of the other girls jealous, and they begin to start harassing her. The physical and verbal abuse Angela endures was constant, even though people continued to stand up for her. After a group of boys is chastised for having seen pelt Angela with a water balloon, the lead culprit is seen heading into the bathroom stalls. It appears as though he is trying to take a number 2, when the screen behind him is cut and a hive of deadly bees are thrown in. After a bout of screaming, he manages to bust through his blocked stall, but by then it's too late and we are given a slow pan of the damage done. At this point, the owner, Mel, believing the camp will never be successful, becomes fixated that all of these kills, or what he was deeming accidents, are actually murders, and he believes he knows who's behind it. Angela and Paul, on the other hand, are enjoying themselves on the beach, where Paul begins to try to undo Angela's blouse. Her eyes widen and we are shown a flashback depicting 2 males in a bedroom kissing, and a young brother and sister sneakily laughing as they spy through a cracked doorway. We are then thrust out of the vision and we see Angela taking off, leaving Paul confused and sitting on the shore. The next day, during a capture the flag game, Paul attempts to approach Angela again as if everything is normal. She tells him she wasn't ready and that she has to go, basically leaving a void for our female antagonist, Judy, to swoop in. Later in the forest, the two of them, Paul and Judy, are seen kissing by Angela and Ricky, sending Angela off running and Paul shortly after her. We later see Paul approach her again to talk, but they're interrupted by Judy, another time, along with a friend of hers, Meg. The two of them throw Angela in the water as Ricky wrestles with the owner, eventually getting free to help his sister. Later that night, we see a group of counselors dictating who's going to have the night off and who's going to go on a camping trip. One of the counselors, the girl who helped throw Angela in the water, Meg, is set to go on a date with Mel, the owner, which is, pretty strange. He's an old guy. She heads to prepare and heads to the shower, but all the ones in her cabin are full, so she heads to another secluded one next door. Not long into her shower, after resting her back on the rear of it, she's met with a knife in the back, and this is a pretty gruesome kill. She gets pretty much jabbed and sliced down, and after this, one of the younger boys, who's accompanied by the other camp counselors, outside camping, are preparing their camp for the night. And then we get another scene panned back to the building where the social dance is taking place, and we see Paul attempting to mend things over with Angela again. She tells him to meet her by the lake after the social, and after a while, a few of the younger campers outside begin to beg Eddie the counselor to go back to the cabin, stating that they're cold. He reluctantly agrees after a few moments, and the 3 of them are seen leaving. Just as they leave, we are shown the camp through the eyes of the killer as they move towards what seems, and they move their way into the camp, focusing in on an axe, actually. And back at the social, Mel is seen looking around and questioning people on the whereabouts of Meg. He eventually finds her in the cabin shower, her body falling from behind the curtain. This sends him spiraling out of control and on the hunt for who he deems the killer is now Ricky. Judy, who is seen curling her hair with an iron, peers into the doorway of the room, seeing a person she believes is Ricky. And as this mystery person walks closer in, Judy responds with, "It's you," to which she almost immediately gets punched in the face, knocking her unconscious. She's then seen being propped up on the bed as a pillow covers her face, and she is violated with the curling iron seen prior. She screams in agony as all we are given is the shadow of her hand writhing. Her body is then hidden underneath the bed. Eddie the counselor, heading back to the camp after dropping off the other boys, stumbles upon a grisly scene of all the campers left behind hacked up to pieces in their sleep. He runs off into the woods shouting for help. Ricky, who's having a late night snack on his walk back from the social, headed to his cabin, is ambushed by Mel, who drags him off into the woods. Mel furiously throws Ricky to the ground, shouting baseless accusations. Ricky begs and pleads with him, saying to stop and that he did nothing. Mel doesn't listen and just begins to pummel down on Ricky like pretty much like an ape from, Planet of the Apes or something. It's crazy. And as he leaves the scene of the crime, he stumbles out into what seems like an archery range type deal. And wide-eyed, he yells, "It can't be you! It can't be!" And he gets shot right in the neck with an arrow. And all the while, the other camp counselors are gathered back at the cabins now discussing a plan to, divide up and find everybody to bring them back to the cabin because now they all know a killer's on the loose. The police have called and stated that the other 3 kills were not accidents, they're actually homicides. So they basically all spread around. And then Paul is seen meeting up with Angela by the lake. And after a while, she suggests that they both should basically go swimming and take their clothes off, to which Paul excitedly does. And now the hunt for the campers is still going on, and Ricky's body is found, and actually he's alive, which is miraculous, while Meg's body is discovered at the other cabin, leaving the rest of all the camp counselors and the police shocked. Ronnie and Susie, the last of the 2 counselors left searching around, actually stumble upon what seems like Angela cuddling Paul on the shore, the 2 still naked. As they get closer, asking if Angela and Paul are okay, we are given one last flashback of Angela's mother, who is seen rambling on about how she always wanted a little girl and another boy simply wouldn't do, talking to a child with a bandaged head. This child eventually would look up and we see the familiar eyes that we know are Angela's. The movie then thrusts us back to Angela and Paul on the beach as Angela jumps up with Paul's severed head rolling out of her lap. With a wide, wicked face, she turns to Ronnie and Susie, still naked, revealing she is a boy. Now that is Sleepaway Camp. It is a pretty controversial movie, I would say. Pretty unknown, depending on... I stumbled upon it one day, just on Tubi, just randomly looking at movies, and I didn't think it was bad, The end twist really caught me for a loop. I wasn't expecting it. I thought the acting was really good from everybody, even though it's kind of like those older 80s kind of cheesy style acting. I'm a huge fan of 80s movies, so this one for me hit the mark. And I thought the cast was pretty decent as well. It had, some decent points of humor, the little, antics between the younger boys and the older boys. I like that stuff. It gives me a kind of like Goonies or almost It type vibe with just groups of friends, you know. And then I thought the movie had really good special effects in that the way they give you glimpses into the gore and snapshots and stuff I thought was really good. And I thought that burn scene, just the way that guy's face bubbled up and everything, I thought that was crazy to me. I've never seen a burn look quite like that, and I thought it was really good. And that ending was, if you watch the movie or if you just kind of make it to the end of this and see, it's just a crazy ending, and it's a little unsettling. It's got that weird 80s like Evil Dead kind of odd vibe. Now the cons, the movie does play really slow. If you're someone who doesn't like movies where it's a lot of talking, there's not a copious amount of action or a lot going on, um, this might not be for you. You might not like it, to be honest. It could, depending on your viewpoints on certain things, be deemed appropriate. It would definitely be deemed appropriate, or at least viciously chastised in today's day and age with just our society and everything. And then, other than that, it is, it's an older movie. It's in the 80s. So visually, it just, it has that grainy kind of Outsiders type feel or look to it. And then another thing is it does lack, in my opinion, any sort of like music. There's no real music going on. I mean, you get the little background music, but no real songs. So I'd say that's a small con, but a con. My thoughts on this movie, though. It's a crazy one. It's one that I think a lot of horror fans would enjoy. If you like classic horror movies like Halloween, you like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser. This one kind of falls in there as like an obscure female slasher film because it did spawn off several sequels. Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, Sleepaway Camp 3. There's a 4 and 5, actually. I've only seen up to 3, and 2 and 3 I actually do like more because they ramp up the killing. So it's a movie that I'd say is worth a watch if you have the time for it, but I wouldn't say it's for everybody. So take with that what you will. But that's Sleepaway Camp, guys. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like on it. Maybe subscribe to the channel for more movie-like content, game-like content. I think I'm gonna focus a lot more on the movies because I just get excited when I watch movies and stuff. It's easier for me to capture scenes in the film and stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching.